Hi, sixth graders, Mrs. Amr here. This week we're going to start taking a look at Module 6, which talks about statistics. And statistics is all about looking at a data set and making some observations based on that data set. So let's talk about some vocabulary first. What is a data set? So in this vocab here, it says a data set or a set of data is a collection of numbers that relates to the observations made to answer a statistical question. This data set is from a survey that asked, what types of transportation do you use? So if I look at this table here, they organize the answers to that question. So survey is they go out and ask people. And the specific question for this example is, what type of transportation do you use? So how do you get from your home to work or to school or to the park or the playground? They look at different modes of transportation. So you can see that people said car, bicycle, skateboard, roller skate, scooter, or walking. So there's 6 different answers that people gave. 24 people said that they ride in a car. 31 said that they bicycle. 9 people skateboard. 6 people take roller skates. 8 people took a scooter. And 57 people walk. So we can make observations like most people walk. The fewest number of people roller skate. So we're looking at different pieces of information. So a survey is just going and asking people a question and getting their answer. So when we get back to school, I could survey my homeroom and say, how many siblings do you have? And get answers from each kid in my homeroom. Or maybe I could stand in the cafeteria and as kids come in for lunch, I can say, how many siblings do you have? Or what's your shoe size? I can ask them questions and they're going to give me an answer and I can get a set of data. So what we're going to focus on first is what is called a measure of center or measure of central tendency. So think about the word center or central. Right? It has a couple different meanings, and we're going to talk about when I have this data set, what type of central measure do I want to look at? And there's actually 3. Today we're going to focus on the first one called the mean. The mean is one of the different types of central measures. Measure of center is called the mean. So the mean is the sum, so we're going to fill in that space with, it is the sum of all the numbers divided by the number of values in the set or list, the data set. So let me backtrack a minute. This word sum, kind of important. Sum, what is the answer to what operation means sum? If you said addition, you are correct. The answer after I add is called the sum. So basically, to get the mean of a data set, to get the mean, I have to take all the numbers they give me, add them up, and then divide by how many numbers are there. So let's look at some examples of what does this mean? How do I find the mean? So first of all, let's talk about, there's other ways to describe the mean, and you've actually used the mean a lot. Another name is that it's also called the average. So someone said, we do this all the time in middle school. What is your average? You're actually finding your mean. So when you find your average at the end of each quarter, you take your math average, your math quarter grade, your social studies quarter grade, your reading quarter grade, your ELA, your science, and all those other classes. You add them up and you divide by how many classes you have. That's your average or your mean. So in your note sheet, if you're able to print, you can follow along with me and fill in these notes. They're kind of there for you to help you along the way as we answer questions. So example 1 says, the list below shows the shoe sizes of students in one class. So if someone said 10, 7, 8 and 5/10 or 8 1/2, 9, 7 1/2, 6 1/2, 6, 7, 8 and 7. So those are the different shoe sizes. So the first thing you want to know is how many kids gave me an answer if I said, what's your shoe size? So if you said we're going to add up how many numbers there are, you're correct. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 10 answers or 10 data values. Okay, so there's 10 numbers here. So to find the mean, I'm going to add them all up. So here's where I'm going to take out my decimals calculator. And I'm going to add all these numbers together. So I'm going to take 10. So 10 plus 7 plus 8 1/2 plus 9 plus 7 1/2 plus 6 1/2 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 7. And remember, you can pause this video at any time. You can pause and try something on your own first, and then unpause it to keep going. You can also rewind to hear something again if I went too fast and you want to see it again. But right now, if I add up all these numbers, I get 76 and 5/10. So the first thing I'm going to look at is 76 and 5/10 is what the sum is. But that wasn't the only thing. What do we do after we get the sum of the numbers? So if I go back to my notes, the sum, add up all the numbers, and then divide by the number of values you have in the set. So they add up to 76 and 5/10. Now I'm going to divide that by the 10 numbers that I have, right? We counted at the beginning that there were 10 numbers. So if I go back and use my calculator, and the answer is already there, so I'm going to say take my answer, ANS is, oops, I'll clear that out. Take the answer I just had, which is no longer there because I deleted it out. So I'm going to retype it in as 76 and 5/10 divided by the 10 values that I have, 7 and 65/100. So it says on average, the mean is 7 and 65/100 for the shoe size. So the average shoe size from this collection of numbers I have is just over 7.5. That's the average or central value. Let's look at example 2. So Claire and her friends sold Girl Scout cookies. The type of cookies and the number sold are in the table below. So our job is to find the mean, the average of the set of data. So first of all, what kind of cookies do they sell? Thin Mints, definitely my favorite. Samoas, Tagalongs, peanut butter patties, and caramel delight. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 different types of cookies. So I'm going to kind of make notes of that. There's 5 types of cookies. How many cookies did they sell? Well, the mean is to add them all up and then divide by the 5 different types of cookies. So let's add these up. Right? If I add up all those numbers, what do we get? So I'm just going to move my calculator so we can all see the numbers there. I'm going to take 27, add to that 18, add to the 21 to that, 19, and then 15. Looks like they sold 100 cookies. Nice job, girls. So the mean is to add them all up, which is 100, and then divide by, there's 5 types of cookies. So how many numbers do we have? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. So you notice in this one, I'm showing the division the old-fashioned way, how you learned it in 3rd grade. And in the last one, I showed that division as a fraction. They're both saying the same thing, right? The fraction bar means to divide. So if I take 100 and divide by 5, I know my students, we've done this a bunch of times in the percent part. 100 divided by 5 would be 20. So what is the mean of this data? That means on average, the girls each sold 20 boxes of each type of cookie. Right, on average, so 20 boxes. Right, if I add them all up and divide by 5 numbers that I have, it's on average they're selling 20 boxes of each type of cookie. So now, if you take your note sheet and you turn it over, you have 4 practice questions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end this video and give you a chance to try those 4 questions. And then we'll go back through and go over them. So good luck. Make sure you show your work. I should be seeing the sum, and I should be seeing what you divided by before you put your answer on the line. Good luck.